by Go Local contributor Russ Moore, who does our weekly Hot or Not column and a opinion column on Mondays. But before we start talking, just want to let folks know a couple of things that we put up this afternoon that they might want to check out. First is Congressman Jim Langevin. Now, both Congressman Jim Langevin and David Cicilline, as we reported, had originally signed on to a House resolution that would have put major limitations on foreign air carriers, specifically Norwegian Air, coming to the United States, and now TF Green, as we know. So the Obama administration had actually approved it without the stipulations of that resolution, and the Trump administration is behind it. Now today we did hear from Congressman Langevin's office that despite signing that resolution, that he said he supports whatever decision that the airport decides to make in the best interest of Rhode Islanders. And of course, TF Green is pushing hard to get Norwegian Air here, which it said it was going to do. Now the Pilots Association has been, again, very much pushing back hard on that for those same labor stipulations. Secondly, do want to update. We did just put up that Governor Gina Raimondo is out in California at a Girls Who Code conference that, interestingly enough, if you look at their Facebook page, it's sponsored by Deloitte. Now, as we know this week, the governor had some strong words for Deloitte, the consultant, in the UHIP debacle. Now, we did talk with David Ortiz, the governor's spokesperson, who said the governor is not getting a speaking fee from Deloitte, is not getting any travel pay from Deloitte, but again, she is out there with other female governors to talk about Girls Who Code. And David Ortiz had said she got the chance to talk with the CEO of Deloitte Consulting actually about UHIP. He said they're going to be in constant communication, but I think a lot of folks are questioning the move to go to California, again, after really having lambasted Deloitte earlier this week.
And we are suing Deloitte, are we not?
She has said that that is a possibility. Now, she said that we are withholding money to Deloitte. I mean, it's a very contentious relationship right now. She really took them to task on Wednesday when she had the UHIP press conference. Again, they are the title sponsor for this event out in California that the governor is at. Again, it's a Girls Who Code event. But, you know, folks...
She seems a little cozy with the company if it's so contentious on a business statewide level, and now she's speaking with them at this conference. Well, it's a little curious.
So, you know, I think this is not the end of this discussions on this trip to California. But again, it was interesting. It was on her schedule, but when you looked at the Girls Who Code, you're like, oh, Deloitte's a sponsor. So it was, we do have that up on Go Local. You can check that out. And on Go Local every week, Russ Moore pens the always entertaining and interesting Hot or Not column.
Thank you very much.
Well, I always like it's the first thing I read on Fridays. It is. So I want to know who's hot or not. I've never actually been in either category. I don't know if I could, being a news editor.
We'll see.
Actually, might have. We'll talk about that later. But let's talk about who's hot this week. And I want to start off with Dr. Azan Mirza. It is a critical care doctor at Kent County Hospital. Why on the hot list?
Absolutely. Dr. Mirza is going to accompany Congressman Langevin to the State of the Union address that the president is going to give in the upcoming weeks. And I think he's a great example of someone who shows us the goodness behind, or what good can come out of immigration. Dr. Mirza is a Pakistani immigrant. He immigrated to this country, he became a citizen, and he's a very productive, very positive member of society. He does a lot for the community, does a lot for the world as well, a lot of charitable work, a lot of charitable endeavors in the medical field.
I had seen a lot of positive feedback from that post that when you had him on the hot list today. So one of our hot list items from this week. Others that we have on the hot list.
One was Providence Bagel, which is a brand new business which is located on North Main Street, which kind of brings the Brooklyn flavor to Rhode Island, and I think that they're going to do a lot of good business there. I had a bagel there the other day, and it was absolutely tremendous, and I recommend people check it out.
You know, it's funny.
It's nice to see new businesses popping up particularly in our capital city of Providence.
It's great to see new businesses pop up. And I feel like there's been, the bagels have been on the decline, but I mean, they're always been popular. Who doesn't want a good bagel?
Yeah, it seems like donuts have been on the rise and bagels have been on the decline, doesn't it?
Well, no, bagels are hot. I think they both land on the hot.
Donuts are always going to be hot, trust me.
So a couple some politicians, Link Chafee, you put
Absolutely,
on the hot list.
Yes. I saw the former governor, Senator, Warwick Mayor's interview that you conducted with him just yesterday.
Yep.
And I thought he made some tremendous points, particularly criticizing our dear governor's economic development strategy, which I tend to agree with Governor Chafee that it's not a lot more than corporate welfare. It's big giveaways to big companies. I think it makes great press releases, but I'm not sure it's going to deliver the jobs, and I'm not sure it's going to give the return on investment that we may hope it would give. And I think that former Governor Chafee is right in his criticism of that. The other reason I put the former governor on the hot list is because he made some comments about President Trump's approach to Russia. And I know I'm probably in the minority on this, but I think warmer relations with other powers, other superpowers, are actually a good thing. I know a lot of Democrats want to get back into another Cold War, but I don't see how that benefits us in any way, shape, or form. So again, I agree with the former governor on that front as well.
Now, he was literally on Russian TV this week, and that was one of the things that we talked about. He had done a lot of work in the Ukraine after he was senator. Foreign relations were always, a major focal point when he was in the Senate. Clearly wants to be able to, show his expertise on the issue, and talked about. Having, again, as he said, warmer relations with Russia. And, interestingly enough, I did ask him if he had any aspirations for getting back into the political fold. He said it's still too early, but raised a number of points in which he said, we talked about 38 studios in his approach, basically, before the deal had gone through and afterwards, and the money that the state had recouped. As you said, talked about economic strategy as well. So it will be interesting. He said he's enjoying retirement, but...
And you make a good point about Chafee's consulting with the Ukraine and some Eastern European countries. Like that was a point that Go Local actually reported back in 2010,
yes.
And it never really got much. It never really became much of an issue yet. Now in 2017, Eastern Bloc countries like Russia are a massive issue on a national level. So I think Go Local was pretty ahead of the curve, 7 years ago as well.
It was interesting. I said, how did you get in touch with, how did you set this interview up? And he talked about his constant communications back in the day and his contacts over there. And so he's like, I've spoken with this news outlet multiple times. So for him, it wasn't a surprise. It was, this is the area that I know. So it was interesting to see him back in the news again this week. Another politician, you put Anastasia Williams on the hot list. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I did. I put Anastasia Williams on the hot list because I thought it was interesting that she was trying to scale back regulations in Rhode Island, make it a little bit easier to do business, make it easier for braiders to do their business and not have to adhere to the same standards that a regular full hair salon would have to. I think it's a common sense bill, and I think that the representative should get some credit for doing what she can to try to make the state a little bit more business friendly. So I do salute her for that. I don't always agree with Representative Williams, but on this particular issue, I'm willing to give her some credit.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see if the bill is heard, who comes out for this. Do the hair braiders come out and support? Does the hairstylist lobby say, well, we're beholden to these things that we need to do? But you're right. I think she was lauded for her attention to trying to, show what business regulations can do for small businesses who are just trying to get up off the ground. So keep an eye on that. That'll be an interesting bill to see where it goes. You talked about a political consultant in your hot list this week.
Sure. So Matt McDermott is a Warwick native, and like so many others, I was perusing Twitter the other night, and I saw Nate Silver, who's probably the highest regarded pollster in the country, despite the fact that he only gave President Trump a 2% chance of even winning the Republican nomination. But in any event, I saw him retweet Matt McDermott, and I said, wait a minute, don't I know this guy? And I said, I do. I met him maybe 8 or 9 years ago when I was a Warwick Beacon reporter, and he came in and he was still a Pilgrim High School student to talk about politics. And I said, wow, here's a guy from Warwick who's doing great things, and he's getting a lot of exposure, and he's doing a great job. He's a pollster himself. So I found that really interesting, and I thought, let's get him on the hot list because he's out there and he's making headlines and he's doing great things.
So if you go to Go Local, you can look a little bit more about, again, why Matt McDermott landed on the hot list,
Absolutely.
as Russ had pointed out. So let's maybe tack over to the not hot list.
Let's do it.
Okay, you had Representatives Langevin and Cicilline first. A little I started to talk about earlier about this whole airport and labor issue.
Exactly. The reason I put the two congressmen from Rhode Island on the not list is because the whole Norwegian Airlines issue, they were more of an impediment than they were a facilitator, at least recently. I understand that Congressman Langevin, to his credit, has changed course. However, at the time and in the last few months, they've been more of an impediment. They've been kind of getting in the way because they've been trying to address some of the labor concerns and not seeing the bigger picture that we need this international airline coming into Providence because we need it as an economic engine, and it can be like a domino that will give us momentum that will bring future other airlines once they show a good experience here in Rhode Island.
Now, again, they had signed onto this resolution in the last Congress, but as we know, as recently as this past week, domestic labor was at the Trump administration making their case for saying this is why the Norwegian airline has to be beholden to these stipulations for labor. So yes, no, Congressman Langevin did articulate again why he said he had supported that back in the day, but did say today that he supports whatever T.F. Green decides to do.
And I give him credit for that.
And T.F. Green has been wholeheartedly behind this. Again, it had passed the Obama administration, Trump administration's behind it. It's really sort of in those final stages that, again, domestic labor is really arguing, and Rhode Island finds itself in the crosshairs of this political and policy debate. But we had, Governor Raimondo on this week, who was very supportive of having Norwegian Air come
as well. She should be.
And actually Senator Ruggiero, who is a big labor leader himself. So a couple of high-profile Rhode Island politicians said, let's get this going, let's get it off the ground. Norwegian Air has said that flights would start as low as $69 each way to Ireland.
Sounds good.
Now, they said that was at the outset, that wasn't going to stay, but you can just see folks, once it's here, basically getting tickets. And then just the jobs here. I mean, there's been a jobs fair, and they're talking about hundreds of jobs here for Rhode Islanders. So keep an eye on this.
And we don't even have to pay a big check to get them here either. We don't have to lay out all these incentives. That's the other good facet of Norwegian Airlines.
So another person you had on the not hot list, former Secretary of Health and Human Services, Elizabeth Roberts. This week resigned.
Absolutely. I think we all can agree that the UHIP rollout was an unmitigated disaster, and unfortunately, she was the head of that Department of Health and Services. And when you make a mistake of that magnitude and it causes those types of disruptions and those types of issues, there has to be some accountability. The Rhode Islanders want to see accountability, and I think that it was time to make a change at the top of that department.
Okay, a couple more folks I want to hit up on the not hot list. You did put Mayor Elorza on the not hot list. Snow policy.
Sure. I don't think it's good policy to tell people that school's going to open as normal, and then 3 or 4 hours later say, oh, hold on, scratch that, we're going to have a 2-hour delay. I think that the governor's decision should be his final answer.
Well,
this is the mayor's decision.
This is the mayor's. There was, because no one knew how the roads were going to be on Monday. I think to the city's credit, I talked with Mary Beth Calabro, the head of the teachers union, and she said that things had gone smoothly. But yeah, no, there was originally the announcement made that there was going to be school as normal, and then they were going to have a 2-hour delay. So yeah, so parents and caregivers need to know how to plan for the kids for the next day. So we'll see. Here we are, middle of February. Hopefully we won't have too many more.
Let's hope not.
Snow episodes to have to wrangle with this.
From your lips to God's ears.
No more snow as we're looking out. It's kind of melting here.
Yes, let it melt.
Go local studio. And then one interesting one that I hadn't known of, and I want to talk about a little bit with you here as the last one. Walmart, and specifically pertaining to Warren Buffett.
Sure. It was announced, I believe it was Tuesday evening, late, that Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's company that he founded decades ago, is selling its stake in Walmart, which turns out to be like $900 million. That is a major blow, not only to Walmart, but to brick and mortar retail in America. When a world-famous, storied investor like Warren Buffett decides to get out of Walmart, which is the world's biggest brick and mortar retailer, it tells us that the momentum is really behind e-commerce and buying things online. So it wasn't a good day for not only Walmart, but the Best Buys of the world and the BJ's wholesale clubs of the world. And
speaking of e-commerce, as we know, the governor has the Amazon tax in her budget proposal to basically hold, Amazon can collect the tax now from Rhode Islanders who decide to. So other states do it. It was in the budget for this year. So it's, it's online. Online, where the world's going. And
that's right.
Here we are, online with Go Local Live, YouTube Live, on the website live, or if you're watching this after, you're watching it after. So Russ, as always, appreciate your coming in and talking to us about how you break down the hot and the not world, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Looking forward to it.
To see who's hot and who's not.
All right, thank you.